Okay, so this is a review of what we did yesterday. Yesterday we looked at inverse functions. How do you graph this? Y equals the square root of x plus 4. Where is this graph?
It's us 4.
4 to the left.
It's 4 to the left.
Oh.
1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then what did we do with this from here? Where did we go to graph it? Give me two more points. Over 1, up 1,
Up one from that last point over 3.
4 and 2, right? 1, same thing. So it looks like that. So can you tell me the domain of this? What
X
is
is
the
greater
domain of
than
that
or-
function?
X is greater than or equal to
Negative four.
-4.
Y is greater than.
And y is greater than or equal to 0, right? So now, if I asked you to do the inverse of this, what would it look like? What would the graph look like?
Half of a parabola.
Half of a parabola. Where is it?
Goes
What's
down.
the inverse of -4, 0?
4, 0, negative
0,
4.
-4,
I don't know.
which is, that's that point. Then over 3, 3, 1 is, -3, 1 is 1, -3. And then what about 0, what's this point? 2, would be 2, 0. So it looks like this, right? So this is the function f of x. Did this pass the horizontal line test? Is this
Yes.
1 to 1? Yes. So can I name this f -1 of x? It is the inverse of it, and it is a function. Since this is 1 to 1, this is gonna be an inverse. This is gonna be a function. Now, how do you do the rule, though? If this is y equals the square root of x plus 4, how do you do the inverse of this? What do you do?
X equals the square root of y plus 4.
And then what? Square both sides. You have to square both sides, right? We have to resolve this for y. And then what?
Subtract 4.
Yep. Now, so I can write -1, right, in this problem? But what is this? This is a,
Quadratic function.
it's a quadratic function and it looks like a parabola. And this is really what it is right here, right? So, but how do I have that? What should I do?
You limit that.
You have to change the domain and the range to make it x is greater than or equal to what? 0.
Y is greater than or equal
Yeah, you switch x and y. Can everyone do this on their own? If you had a test question, would you be able to do that?
Yeah. I would.
Okay? Okay, did anybody have any questions on 6.7? I would like to finish that up, answer any last few questions on that.
Somebody had some, feeling, was it you did any questions on that?
Questions? Anybody?
Feelings? Or was it Hope? Hope, was it you did have questions?
Hope, do you have a question?
34.
On 6.7?
Yeah.
34, let's do 34.
You know what, and I have collected them, if you wanna see yours back, you may come and get it. Just make sure you return it in for a grade.
Number 34 has,
This is 6-7, correct?
So cute.
yeah,
Shmaya, do you want me to get yours? Here.
34 says, I'm gonna write it out. It says f of x equals 2x squared plus 2. Okay? F of x equals 2x squared plus 2. So, Can you tell me what this thing looks like? If you were to graph it, you don't have to sketch a perfect graph of it, but where is this at? This is 2 units up, and it looks like this, right? For this problem, they're not asking you to graph it, but you would be able to, right? You could. Could you tell me the domain and the range of this? The domain is all real numbers, and the range is y is greater than or equal to 2 for this. Now, all they wanted you to do is write the rule. How do you find the rule for this inverse? You're gonna write x is equal to 2, y squared plus 2, then what? How do you solve this for y? Subtract 2, divide everything by 2. I could write 1/2 x minus 1 equals y squared, and then take the square root of both sides. So you get plus or minus the square root of 1/2 x minus 1 equals y. Now, is this a function? No. It did not pass the horizontal line test. It's not 1-to-1, so you don't get to write f negative 1 of x. Now, how do you write the domain though? The domain of this is going to be x is greater than or equal to 2, and the range is going to be y is all real numbers. You switch these around. Oh, do you have it? Okay. Any other questions? All right, now take out 6-8. We started 6-8 yesterday. I'd like to finish it.
Yeah,
6.8. Everybody have 6.8.
Yeah.
All right, we left off on the back side. Thank you. Okay, I want to look at question 2. We started this yesterday, and this should be reviewed. Do you guys know, you know what the shape of this is? Where does this come from? The family of the square roots. And the square roots look like this arc, right? All they want to know, this is not inverse stuff, but I tied it in yesterday with what we did. How do you graph y equals the square root of x minus 3? How do you graph that? It's 3 units up, down, left, right, tell me.
3 units.
Right.
3 units right. You're going to vertically or horizontally shift this 3 units to the right. This is going to go 3 units to the right. So if this is 3 units to the right, can you tell me where this thing starts? At where? At 3, and it goes this way. Do you guys agree?
Yes.
So I'm going to write this. You have y is equal to the square root of x minus 3. This is 3 units to the right. It looks like this. 3 units to the right. 1, 2, 3. It starts here. It's going to look like that. So can you tell me what the domain and the range is for this? What's the domain?
X is greater than or equal to 3.
And
y
what's
is
the
greater
range?
than or equal to 0.
Range is y is greater than or equal to 0. Now, if you were to graph this, and it's easy just to go 3 units right. But let's say you didn't know what to do. What you do is you take your parent function, 0, 1, 4, and what do you do to the x values? Do you remember? We talked about these in chapter 4.
Add 3.
You're going to add the opposite. You're going to add 3 to the what?
X's.
To the x values. So if you added 3 to these, you'd get 3, 0. Add 3 to this, you get 4, 1. Add 3 to this, you get 7, 2. And that's where these points are. So, does everybody have the domain for this? In your notes, I want to make sure you have it. X is greater than or equal to 3, and y is greater than or equal to 0. So what do you think that the next one is going to look like? It's going to be a shift
To the left.
2 to the left. 2, it's horizontally 2 to the left. So can you tell me what the domain and the range is for this one?
X is greater than or equals to -2.
Mm-hmm, and what's the range? Now, why is it important to be able to do this from what we did yesterday? Why is that important? Well, how are you gonna do the domain and the range if you can't do the domain and the range of the original function? You need the original domain and range so you can swap them out. Okay, now check out this one. Now we're gonna add some stuff. More than shifting it left, right, up and down. Do you remember us doing these a few chapters ago? We talked about what this number does. Sometimes there's a number other than 1 in front of x, but you don't have it here. But this is gonna do something to the graph, and this is gonna be doing something to the graph. Do you guys remember all the transformations?
Yes.
What does this plus 2 do?
Or
It's 2 to the
left.
left. How are you gonna do that mathematically to your table?
-2.
You're gonna take your x values and you're gonna -2. Then you go here, what does this 3 do? It vertically stretches it by a factor of 3. So what you do here is you take your y values and you multiply them by 3. And this last thing, -4, it's gonna go 4 units down. Do you remember what that does? You take your y value and you subtract 4. Is this coming back to you guys?
Yes.
Awesome. So, tell me what the parent function is and what should this thing look like? What's the parent function? Square root of x. So, give me 3 of the easiest points we can use. 0, 0, 1, 1,
4,
4, 2. And if you wanted to do 9, it'd be 9, 3. But I think we're off the page on that one. Okay, so step 1, the first transformation, we're gonna take your x values and we're gonna do what with them? Subtract 2. We're gonna you do the opposite here. So can you subtract 2 from all these x values? What do you get?
-2.
Subtract 2. Subtract 2.
2.
Subtract 2.
7.
Okay. What do I do with the y values? You leave them alone for a second. So we did this one. We did 8. We did the first transformation. Then you move out to here. What does this tell you to do? It says vertically stretch your graph by a factor of 3. You're going to take your y values and you're going to multiply them by 3. I want you to multiply these all by 3. What do you get? Right? And the last thing you're going to do is you're going to take your y values and subtract 4. And can you do that for me? Subtract 4. So if you subtract 4 from all these, you get -4, -1, 2, and 5. I would like you to do what next? I want you to sketch these 4 points. So over 2, down 4, over 2, I'm sorry, this should be a 1. Bad. Bad. Copy, it's very easy to copy it wrong. And then 2, 2, and then is 7, 4, 5, 6, yeah, we're gonna be off the page. It'd be way out here. Did I graph it right?
Looks right.
1, 1. Questions? Questions? Yep. So we started with the originals, the mother functions. Then what we did was we start here inside, subtract 2. and then we multiply, subtract 2 from the x. You gotta know this affects the x. Subtract 2 from the x. This, you're gonna multiply the y value by 3, and then you're gonna subtract 4. You have to do it in that order. You have to. So, remember, what the graph is supposed to look like. The parent is, it's an arc. So it should look like an arc. Does this look like an arc? Don't turn something from an arc that's supposed to come from an arc into a U-shaped figure or squiggly line. I see all kinds of goofy pictures. If it's an arc, if it comes from an arc, it's an arc. It's like a bird. If a bird has baby birds, it's still a bird. It doesn't turn into a frog, right?
Why not?
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's the same family. If a penguin has a baby, it's gonna be a baby penguin. It's not gonna be a snake, right?
I love penguins.
Okay, so can you tell me, multiplying the y coordinate, what did it do? What happened to this graph?
It stretched it.
It stretched it.
So anything that's greater than.
Yeah, it's gonna vertically stretch it, yep, yep. I'm going to have you write, for part of your homework, you're gonna do this, explain how these two graphs are related. How you went from one to the other. I want you to explain using all the fancy words that we talked about, but don't do it right now. So now, I want you to flip to the back. And right now, I'm gonna give you, about 10 minutes or so. I want you to do 3 nice graphs for me. This one. I want a nice table. I want a nice graph. In about 10 minutes, we're gonna check back and make sure we're all on the same page here. I'm gonna give you 10 minutes to do them.
Looks like it's barely in there.